Here's an example of the first thing we're going to model, just a basic box that will represent the box of the gum. You see it has a very nice bevel, which when we render will catch the light very nicely. The final angle for this shot will probably be something like this. And once again, we get this nice reflection of the light. So let's go ahead and create our own box. I'm actually going to get rid of this one here. Hit delete on my keyboard, and we're going to just create a box. Of course, this is tremendously easy to create using a primitive object. And of course, there really is no right or wrong way to create almost everything we're going to build for this project. So whatever method you'd like to use, feel free. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. You can decide what shape box you'd like. Sometimes when you go to the supermarket, you'll find when you go to the register, you have some boxes that are a little longer like this, as opposed to the one we're building for this particular project. Once I'm happy with this box, I'm going to turn it into an editable mesh, and I'm simply going to grab the edges very quickly. And a simple way of doing that, of course, is I can either go to a live selection and I can just drag my mouse across like so, or I can click one at a time holding down Shift. But as you see, that's pretty much the fastest way to do it. We're going to go to the Mesh menu, to our Create tools, and we're going to choose Bevel. Now, we don't need to tear this menu off this time because we're only going to use the bevel. And you'll see that my cursor, of course, reflects the new tool. What we're going to do is we're going to drag on one of these dots, and it doesn't really matter which one because we have all the edges selected, and we're simply going to pull down. Now, because I already changed my subdivisions on the last box that I created, it remembers that, so I have 5 subdivisions. Now, you might, by default, have one like so. Just go over to where it says subdivision and simply increase it to maybe about 5. Now, just in case you want to create a box that has far more angular edges here, simply go to bevel mode and change yours to solid. But I'm going to change mine back to chamfer because that's exactly what I want here. And now I have the beginnings of the box. This will be pretty easy to texture because it's a regular rectangle, and we can go ahead and wrap a texture around it later on. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start to think about efficiency. Now, what I mean by that is we're going to have some little tiny trees scattered along the landscape, and we are going for a cartoony feel, so we don't need to really worry too much about realism. What we can do is create something made out of a cylinder and a bunch of cones. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the cone. And I'm going to go ahead and move this into position. And one thing about the cone is that if we were to go to polygon mode after we turn this into an editable mesh, you'll notice something very interesting. Let me go ahead and just show you real fast. I'm going to go to live selection, and I'm going to draw very quickly to grab all these. Now, if I try to move this, it pops right off. They're not really attached, which is quite handy. So we can go ahead and hit delete. Nice little shortcut right there. We can also think about how we want to create the leaves or pine cones, as it were, or pine leaves on this tree. And of course, we could choose several different methods. I'm going to go with the points mode. Now, one of the cool things about the points mode is that we can easily get rid of any leftover points, as you see here, when we deleted that set of polygons. So we can simply go to a live selection mode, and we can just quickly draw to grab them all because there's not that many. And now you can hit delete again, and they're gone. Now I'm going to grab this point here and just show you what I'm thinking about here. We're going to eventually pull some of these guys down to get that, the traditional Christmas tree look. That's what I'm going to go for. These pretty much stylized pine trees. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of these guys here. I'll hold down the Shift key on my keyboard. I'm simply going to rotate, and I'm not too concerned about grabbing them evenly. especially the ones in the back that we're not going to see. And I'll just go ahead and bypass this cube. Of course, I should have moved it over just a little bit more, but not a big problem. And I think that should do the trick. As you can see here, I left clicked and I'm going to go into a top view. And I'm going to scale these points outwards, like so. I'm going to left click again, go back to this view, and we're going to move them down. Like I said, they're going to be really tiny, so from a distance, we're not going to see them that clearly. And we're going to simply duplicate these guys later on when we need to, and just have them stacked like this. And we'll scale that bottom one down, but not right now. And the reason I say that is because we want to texture these guys. And I don't want to texture all of them when we have hundreds of trees or how many trees we're going to make. So it's going to reduce. We're simply just going to duplicate this guy here as a group and have a bunch of trees all over the place. And of course, the base will simply be a cylinder like so. So we can go ahead and just drag that cylinder right on into position. And you get the idea. Now, something else that I want to talk about. I'm going to move that down. I also want to reduce how many segments we have for the tree base or trunk, like so. And we're going to have a trinity of these by the time we're done. And we can go ahead and just vary the height of many of them like so. So let's go ahead and save our work. I'm going to save mine as Arctic Bite Gum, and I will see you guys in the next lesson.